Warning, this content may be disturbing to some audiences. Subscribe. If you dare.
A mother that brought in her 5-year-old for therapy because she was into Disney princesses, which are clearly sexual, and since a 5-year-old is non-sexual. Hey everybody, welcome to ANECDOSED. People ask Reddit. Therapists of Reddit, what was your "you must be kidding me" moment?
Number 1.
A client was going to probate court and thought he'd dress up by putting a non-slip sock on his collar as a tie. Trying to be supportive, I told him, "Nice tie." To which he replied, "It's not a tie, it's a sock, stupid."
Number 2.
One client of mine bites and eats his fingernails. Gross, but not unheard of. Then I learn he stores his fingernails in a box in his room to save them for a snack later. A little grosser, but he's about 9, so I'm hoping he will grow out of it. What finally made me want to vomit was learning that when anyone in his family clips their nails, fingers or toes, they give him the clippings to add to his box. So when he's eating nails from the box, they could belong to his mother, father, or siblings. Yes, I've addressed the parents about enabling this behavior, but it is still happening. I'm aware that it seems like pica or some sort of nutrition deficiency, and for all I know it could be. I'm a behavioral therapist and not qualified to professionally recommend medical treatments to the family. I do know his parents have taken him to several doctors for multiple different tests for disorders, so this could have been addressed and they just choose not to disclose the information to me.
Number 3.
Mom and dad are both in counseling for sexual addiction. Dad is into bestiality. Stepmom is into anything that moves. Daughter, 18, was molested repeatedly by her real mom's friends. Parents are constantly watching adult content in front of their daughters, and she sees multiple people go into the bedroom and leave quickly. Parents wonder why their daughter is very hypersexually and got kicked out of school for groping every boy in her class. CPS is involved. There is an ongoing case. The girl was taken away and the dad was given custody after a court order. The stepmom is not allowed contact. She made contact, and is now completely removed from their life. The dad is in ongoing counseling and CPS feels it is best for the child to stay at home since the dad is getting help.
Number 4.
I used to work with children that have autism and Down syndrome, which means a lot of play therapy. I had my moment when one of my clients wanted to sit on my lap while we practiced reciting animal cards followed with their corresponding noise. Forgot what animal noise I made that made him laugh so much that he ended up peeing on me from the laughter. That night was also date night.
Number 5.
Intake clinician here. What brings you in today? I'm here for adult addiction. At this point, not the weirdest thing I've heard, let's go with that. Okay, tell me about it. I watch it 3 times a week, for 15 minutes or so at a time. My girlfriend said I'm an addict and forced me to come in. I see lots of very extreme cases, but this was so minor that it made me stop for a moment. I sent them to couples counseling.
Number 6.
Just today I conducted a threat assessment on a first grader who told his teacher he wanted to stab himself with a knife and die. Upon further questioning, he revealed that he and dad watched The Walking Dead together, and last time on the show he saw 2 people stab themselves to death because they didn't want to get eaten by the zombies. Why are you even watching that show with a 6-year-old? Children don't have the same sense of reality as adults. They don't realize that when you die in a video game, and come back to life the next time around, that it is not the same in real life.
Number 7.
Commenter. Had a client who we found out was storing his own shit under his bed. He would then eat his shit for a snack. First issue, he thought he was an alien, so eating his shit had a few benefits in his mind. First benefit, we could not study his shit. Second benefit, he felt that alien shit had nutrients he could not get from our food. He would eat normal food, but we found out he felt Earth food was poison and alien shit fixed that. Third benefit, alien shit is worth a lot of money, so he did not want us to steal it. When we found out what he was doing, I got to inform him that we were taking away his shit. He kicked me. Person B. I worked in a residential facility and we had a kid that would violently rape his large panda bear and then lick the semen off till it was clean while whispering what a nice lady the bear was. I used to work in several psychiatric wards. I loved it but had to move on from getting burned out. I still work with suicide, which I worked with mostly in the hospital, but I did have other clients. Now I work in a university though, and while the cases are as serious, it is different. Not sure how to answer how it is different other than there is more hope. Also, they let me teach, which gives me a change of pace.
Number 8.
One that sticks out in my mind was a mother that brought in her 5-year-old for therapy because she was into Disney princesses, which are clearly sexual, and since a 5-year-old is non-sexual, this must clearly mean she's being sexually abused by a close family member. I've also worked with countless couples who have come to counseling for adultery wherein adultery. One client even became suicidal because she caught her husband jerking off after not having sex with him for months. I know everyone has different values, but come on, y'all.
Number 9.
I'm a speech therapist and I see this little kindergartner who also has massive behavior issues. We are working on language and pragmatics because he enjoys calling people stupid effing bitches and little dirty whores and goddamn disgraces, most likely for attention. He will walk around the room calling me a stupid bitch, a smelly cunt, and repeating the word F until he runs out of breath just to see if he can get a reaction from me. I would work on articulation with him because he doesn't actually say those words correctly, but I figured best to work on that later after I've got the swearing and name calling down to a minimum.
Number 10.
I was working surveillance one night at a psych ward, keeping a close watch on a mentally ill patient. Right before my shift started, I was briefed that the patient had started eating one of the light bulbs and attacked a nurse. At around 5 a.m. he woke up and saw me sitting there at the end of his bed. I said good morning and he didn't reply. About 15 minutes of silence went by before he stood up and stared out the window and said a person is most vulnerable while taking a shit. I didn't sit back down for the rest of my shift.
Number 11.
Commenter. Have a master's in clinical psychology and I am currently working towards my doctorate. I laughed reading this question because I feel like I have at least one of those moments per day at my clinic rotations, regardless of type of setting. One that stood out the most was when I was working at camp for children with various psychological disorders, most with some sort of behavioral concerns. The girl I was paired with had a history of aggressive and violent tendencies. We went the whole day without any problems. That was until we were doing some group physical activity to wind down and focus before leaving for the day. She didn't like that this meant no longer playing with a certain toy, so she took off her shoe and threw it at the little boy in front of her. He had autism and immediately started crying and screaming. While someone helped him, I turned to the girl to explain to her what she did was wrong. As I turned towards her, she punched me square in the face, then grabbed a hold of my hair. Managed to pull out a good chunk. I'm about 5 feet 1 inch, and this girl was maybe 1 or 2 inches shorter than me and had about 20 pounds on me, despite being 9 years old. Trying to get a safe physical restraint was difficult and comical to say the least. Finally got some help from other staff, and we were able to calm her down after about 15 minutes. The kicker was when we told her mom what happened, she basically dismissed the entire thing and laughed about it. So frustrating because you just know this kind of thing is reinforced at home as there is no punishment. The girl then starts hitting her mom, who grabs and holds down her arms. The little girl laughs, looks at me and the other staff member, and says, "Uck, a little help over here. Are you going to let her do this to me? She's hurting my arm." I went home and did this weird laugh/cry for a few hours. Luckily you learn pretty quickly not to take things personally and move on, so things were back to normal the next day. I do occasionally look back at that day just baffled at how quickly that whole situation escalated. Most of the other moments that come to mind involve poop in some capacity. Person B. I remember the first time I had to do physical restraint after a client ran. After restraints we need to make phone calls and document in detail. I had difficulty composing myself for the phone call, and later documenting because I was so stressed out. I woke in the middle of the night crying after that. I've never liked physical confrontation, and even though I had a clear justification for restraint based on safety concerns, it was still mentally difficult. Person C. I had a very similar experience except my client was an autistic girl. She was known to have aggressive behaviors but she was new so I didn't know what her triggers were. I was with her every day for a week without incident when one day she ran under a table to get a toy. I told her be careful, and she immediately got up and smacked me in the face. She continued trying to hit me until her dad ran up and pulled her off me. She then alternated between trying to attack me and sitting/crying. Her dad then started handing her snacks and toys to calm her down.
Number 12.
My client told me his family didn't appreciate his interest in guns, to which he proceeded to tell me he is always carrying. He then placed his gun on the table in front of me and asked if it made me nervous. It did, but we focused more about why he wanted to know if I was nervous, and it brought it back around to his family. From then on, I made sure to always have access to a door and never put the client between the door and myself again just to be safe.
Number 13.
I provided therapeutic counseling/rehabilitation services for people with brain injuries. At a family conference I was trying to explain to the family that they needed to accept their son/brother as he was in the moment and that he was not going to get much better than he was. They were being unkind to him, calling him stupid etc., and generally being the worst version of family support imaginable. The family said they would never accept him as he was and demanded that I arrange a brain transplant for him so that he could go back to the way he was before the accident. I didn't react, but my student lost it and started laughing uncontrollably. She had to leave the room. The family was outraged at her and demanded to know why she laughed at them. I literally had to explain that 1. Brain transplants are not possible, and 2. If a brain transplant were possible, that would mean putting a different person into their son's body. They didn't grasp this and insisted I could do it if I wasn't too lazy to do my job. I felt so bad for that poor young man.
Number 14.
I work in a community residence for adults with mental illness. Most of them are very capable and independent. One girl, 27 years old, constantly acts really dumb for sympathy and will do dumb things because she can, I guess. First week she was admitted she tripped on something getting out of bed. She's 5 feet 1 inch and like 200 pounds, and she fell on her foot and broke some of the small bones in the foot. I take her to get her cast, and she gets the usual don't get the cast wet, use your crutches, elevate, blah blah. Since her bedroom was on the 2nd floor, we had to send her back to her mother's house for a few weeks since she would not be able to exit the building in time in case of emergency. Well, 5 days later, the shoe/boot thingy to put over your cast comes in and we call her up saying we'll bring it over. Her response, well, I don't think it'll fit. Why not, we ask. Because I cut my cast off, I got it wet and it was too tight. They didn't give her a second cast and she never used her crutches, claiming they were unstable and she would fall and get hurt if she used them. Her foot never healed properly and 2 months later she fell and broke it again. Make sure to share your personal story in the comments below and have the opportunity to be featured in a future video. Also, if you like these topics, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the notification button to continue seeing more content like this every day. See you next time.